interview, just let them come out and off to the side, please. Mind doing your interview and so on and so forth, just off to the side here, please. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark, for selling Greg!
Freedom fighters!
Well, today we had an adjournment till February 6th where the court will reconsider if we need a hearing date. And in the meantime, the Canadian Prosecutorial Service, the United States Justice Department, and my lawyers are setting about to negotiate an agreement whereby I would serve time in custody in exchange for the release of my co-accused Michelle and Greg. And so they'll be working on that the next couple of weeks and report back to the court on February 6th.
Have you helped yourself at all, Mark, by this group of people here? I mean, some people are smoking pot outside the court. You know, you're talking about this before really anything's nailed down. You're not helping yourself.
Well, I've got an agreement from the U.S. Justice Department that clearly outlines what they're seeking, and they clearly understand what I'm seeking, or I wouldn't even enter into any negotiations. I'm still interested in the extradition hearing in the absence of any good offer from the United States Justice Department, so I'm not particularly afraid of a hearing or 5 years in jail if that's the price I have to pay to get my co-accused out of jail. I'm proud of what I did. I won't be making any apologies or any kind of repentance or contrition, and the United States Justice Department is aware of that. I consider what I've done to be a great Patriots Act, and for 29 years I've been advocating that people get out of jail for peaceful, honest lifestyle offenses like using marijuana. So I'm confident that the United States Justice Department will see the good in this deal and want to avoid a very, I think, prickly and unpopular prosecution. I think the recent events in the news have indicated that the Canadian people are solidly against this kind of extradition and this kind of outsourcing of our justice system to the U.S. federal government. So I believe I have a lot of Canadian support, and that they will be bitterly disappointed if I get any jail time, certainly 5 years in this country, for not hurting anyone and selling seeds.
Ms. Rainey, what's your understanding about whether or not your ability to remain out of prison is even on the table?
At this point, the U.S. government does want a prison sentence for me, and I have Crohn's disease. I'm a medicinal marijuana user in Canada, and I have a legal exemption. I do not want Mark or Greg to face any jail time, and I don't feel it's fair that Mark would have to sacrifice himself for us in any way whatsoever. This is a victimless crime. This is a sovereignty situation, and we need to stand up for our rights in this country as Canadians.
That's right. What would happen to you if you have to live?
I would die in a U.S. prison. I have used cannabis now for the past 12 years. I don't use any pharmaceuticals, and it saved my life. Crohn's disease is a very painful illness. 1 in 300 people now are being diagnosed with it. And I chose an alternative health for myself because the prescriptions were killing me and surgery almost killed me as well. So being in a U.S. prison, I would not be allowed to access my medicinal cannabis that I do grow for myself organically.
It must have been an offer from the U.S., but what have you heard from the Canadian government?
Well, they've agreed to enter negotiations, and that's the key thing, because through various maneuvers we've tried to get ourselves charged in Canada as being charged in Canada for the same crimes as being charged in the United States would negate the extradition, and the federal prosecutorial service, the Crown, has declined to let that happen in the past. So now they have actively said they will enter into negotiations on behalf of the U.S. and the Canadian government. So we have all three parties sitting down with a very clear idea of what it is we're to find. So unfortunately for me, I expect they're going to come to an agreement in the next couple of weeks.
I mean, you'd all likely then still have to plead guilty to something. Particularly, but Ms. Rainey, Mr. Williams, you'd have to plead guilty to some crime in the United States, would you not? Is that what you expect?
They would.
That's undetermined right now.
Yeah, but they would, and then they'd plead guilty and get a non-custodial sentence. That's what would be required. Yeah. No, Michelle and Greg would have to plead guilty to the charges ultimately in this deal, and then receive non-custodial sentences, which would mean no jail time for pleading guilty in their particular cases.